Hi students, this section is on solving multi-step linear inequalities. So for this section right here, we're just going to work through some examples of what you're going to be seeing in your bookwork. So here for example 1, they want us to solve the following inequalities. So we're getting the variable on one side and the number by itself on the other. So this is just like solving equations, but notice we're working with inequality symbols. So for A, we have 2y minus 5 is less than 7. I ultimately want to get y by itself here. So in order to do that, I need to add 5 to both sides. So what I'll have here on the left is 2y, which is less than 7 plus 5 is going to give me 12. So now what I'm going to do, I still need to get y by itself. So the opposite of 2 times y is we're going to divide both sides by 2. 12 divided by 2 gives me 6. I'm not dividing by any negatives here, so my inequality symbol is going to stay as y is less than 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that will be my answer. And if I were to plug in any value of y that's less than 6, it would make that inequality true. So if I chose 5 for y, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 5 is less than 7. So that's a true statement right there. Let's solve for B. 5 minus x is greater than 4. We're going to subtract 5 to both sides. So what I'm left with on the left side is negative x is greater than 4 minus 5 is going to give me negative 1. Here we have a negative in front of the variable. We cannot have that. The variable always needs to be positive. So if it's helpful, you can put a 1 in front of the x. To get rid of that negative, we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. Here we are working with negative values. So we are going to have to reverse the inequality to make the statement true. So negative 1 divided by negative 1, that cancels. So I'm left with x. Now I switch the inequality, so it's going to be x is less than negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. That will be my answer. So x needs to be any number less than 1. So if I chosen 0, 5 minus 0, yes, that's true. It's greater than, because 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 is greater than 4. So that's my answer. Now looking at C here, notice we have variables on both sides of the inequality. So what I need to do is I need to get the numbers and variables on one side and the numbers alone on the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first subtract 2x to both sides. So I have here negative 4 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 2x gives me 2x, which is less than 1. Again, we need to get that x by itself, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Negative 4 plus 1 gives me negative 3 is greater than or equal to 2x. I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. We are dividing by positive, so my inequality sign stays. So my final answer is negative 3 halves is greater than or equal to x, and that would be my final answer. This next example, it is working with solving real life problems, working with inequalities. So we have here the zoo charges $10 for admission and $2 for additional featured exhibits. You go to the zoo with $40. They want you to write an inequality that represents the possible number of exhibits you can see. And they want to know what is the maximum number of visits you can attend based on the amount of money you have. So let's set this up as an inequality based on what we have. So it's $10 to get into the zoo. That's my starting rate. And then it's $2 for each featured exhibit. So the way I'm going to write this is 2 times, sorry about that. It's going to be 2